Is fintech a revolution or an evolution?
I think it probably depends on who you're speaking to. I think if you're talking to the banks, then I'd say they sort of hope it's an evolution, probably an evolution of them. And I think if you talk to the fintechs, I'd say they believe it's a revolution. They're very much kind of looking for the moment that the sort of ticker tape takes off and the sparks fly and the world changes overnight. But I think in reality, I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're seeing the sort of slow increase of pressure and tension within the banking system that's actually leading to the change that we're seeing at the moment. So depending on the side of the fence you are, I think you're probably going to have a different response to that.
Which fintech category will be changing the most in the short term? Is it insurance or?
Personally, I think the interesting thing that's happened in fintech is predominantly it's been a kind of a fight for the front end initially. We've seen really interesting things like Moven and various different people who've come to the fray that have actually changed how that customer engagement, the customer experience looks. But for me, the most interesting thing that are actually happening in fintech at the moment are actually in the back office. The companies who are revolutionizing how architecture is put together, how core banking is actually manifested and changed. Putting real big pressure on the traditional suppliers within the ecosystem is a kind of something that really sort of lights my fire, quite frankly. And if you kind of extend this into all of the changes that we're seeing with regards to things like blockchain, then fundamentally we're talking about a different way of banking. This is a revolution from the back office, I think, in terms of what we're seeing over the last maybe the last 2 to 3 years. In terms of the companies that I'm most excited about, I think the bank challengers, the people who are not just fintechs as in small parts of the ecosystem, whether it be payments or whatever it's sort of coming through, but the people like Mondo, the people like Atom, the people like Tandem, particularly in the UK, Number 26, across into Europe as well. These guys are actually peers now to the banking organization. They have licenses, they're going to have huge amounts of customers that are very interested in terms of what they're doing. And they are actually a credible substitute now for the banks that have been around for 300 years. So that's the most exciting thing that I see coming through.
What would be your advice to Wall Street and big London banks, to the CEOs?
I think the main thing that I sort of always advise to people is that the last few years has been like those guys have been the proverbial frogs in the water with the temperature slowly being turned up and some of them haven't noticed yet, which is kind of the tendency for those things because it's been quite gradual. But I think over the last 2 years, the inevitability of change that's come through, both from a regulatory perspective, from a technological perspective, is undeniable. So I think take your fingers out of your ears and really listen to what it is that's happening out there. The customers are definitely looking for change, and the investors are definitely looking for change. So the inevitability now that the customer adoption of these new technologies is coming. So, to my point earlier on, if you don't change in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to be really in trouble in the next 5 to 10 years.